Some of you may remember the video I did a few months back on brute forcing the update key on BennVenn's JJB bags. Um, I don't know how long it's been. It feels like it's been. It feels like it's been so much longer than it has. I know that. Regardless, BennVenn still hasn't gotten back to me on the update keys. It doesn't really matter because I have them now of my own accord. And that video, it was pretty much out of date as soon as I uploaded it because the gurus behind the brute forcing in the first place figured out the actual algorithm and could just generate keys like that. They also figured out that the bootloader for this device is in the firmware that BennVenn distributes, so if you have the actual hardware to make one of these, you could just make your own. So that's what we're going to do. This here is the JJB bags that I purchased from BennVenn many years ago. I did end up breaking this thing, and I have repaired it since, so that's why it comes apart so easily. And I didn't actually solder down the replacement board properly. This should be flush. I figured I was going to make it easier if I need to take it apart again, but I don't see why I'd need to take it apart again. Anyway, pry this open, you'll notice a few things here. BennVenn's custom PCB is pretty much empty, and then it uses this development board. This is called a Maple Mini. He picks these up on AliExpress or eBay or something for dirt cheap. These things, like in onesies and twosies, you can get these boards, these whole boards, this thing, for like $3-4 shipped. So when you're buying them in bulk, they're even cheaper. But anyway, I went ahead and purchased myself one. I actually purchased myself several, but at the moment I only have one. I also have from Osh Park this new shiny PCB. So I'm thinking we could put these together, throw a cart reader on here, and make our own JJB bags. Let's try that out. Before I get to soldering, I bought these from Osh Park. When you get them from Osh Park, they always come with these little tabs on them. Take a few minutes, file that off. I already did that on this board. But before we get to soldering, I want to make sure that this works and that we can flash it properly. But I just want to say this before I get sidetracked. If you do end up making one of these, solder the cart reader first, because it's pretty much impossible to get at those pins once that's there. So now we're going to go ahead and switch over to my computer here, and we're going to try out. Let me start my recording so we can actually see my screen. And we're going to try out, we're going to get this thing flashed with the Joey firmware and try that out. I should probably grab a better USB cable instead of this garbage. Okay, I guess I need to pause and find another USB cable. Oh wait, I don't have to pause. I got one right here. You'll have to bear with me for a second. Oh wait, that's not a USB cable. Just kidding. But this one is. Oh god, it was under things. This is why we need USB Type-C in all of our lives. Oh, what the fuck? Is it the USB port? Maybe it's fine. That's just what the Maple Mini does. Or maybe my Maple Mini's bad. And I'm glad to be finding this out before trying to solder. Anywho, I'm going to move that over a little bit because I'm still using the phone to record. But let's check out Device Manager here. And I'm going to try unplugging it one more time. Or actually, I'm just going to hit the reset. Oh yeah, it is in there. Should check the COM ports first. Maybe I should have prepared more for this video. Nonetheless, COM5, we're good. So to get this installed, what we need to do, we need to go to HDR's GitHub, which I'll link. It's just github.com/HDR. Go to his repositories here. We want the Joey Joe Bags repository, and I'll just throw a link directly to this. But just go ahead and download a zip of this whole repository and throw that in a folder somewhere. So I have that in this Joey Joe Bags master folder here. You'll also have to set up these prerequisites. So you do need to have the Arduino IDE installed, and you do need to set up this Arduino STM32 repository as well. I'm not going to do that now. It's pretty easy. It just takes a few minutes. But one thing I do want to say, when you go into the Arduino STM32, when it says copy the Arduino STM32 folder, it means this zip that you download that zip, copy this whole folder, Arduino_STM32 master, into this hardware folder. I just renamed it, I took out the master, but this is the folder you want. Ta-da. It took me a few minutes to figure that out, so I figured I'd mention it. Otherwise, once you've got that in there, you can go back into your Joey Joe Bags folder, go into Joey Bootloader, double-click this .ino file, wait for the IDE to load, there it is, and tools, we want to select board Maple Mini. If you don't have the Arduino STM32 folder set up properly, you won't see these boards here. So we want Maple Mini, because that's the board we're flashing. Port, we want set to COM5, and we should be good to upload it. That should be it. All right, so you'll have to forgive me. I have completely forgotten where I left off, but I know last I was here, I was working on this thing. I couldn't get it flashed over USB. I couldn't get it flashed with the tool. So I ended up ordering more. As y'all know, with how shipping has been working, you know, it's not exactly a quick process to order more of these things. But anyway, I did order more. I was able to flash this one with 0 issues. So let's see if I can't do another one and this time actually record it. So here's how they come from AliExpress here, just in a little sealed anti-static bag. We'll pop this bad boy out. And I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. And over on my computer, I have the device manager open so we can see what port it ends up on. And I guess that's not going to stay that way. So anyway, go ahead and switch over to my computer now. You see I have the GitHub page open with HDR's Joey Joe Bags repository. I already have all this downloaded. I already went ahead and set up the Arduino software last time, and mine is already set to the right settings. We have CPU speed 48 megahertz. We already even have the COM set. I'm going to pull up the serial monitor right here, but I already have it open because I just flashed one of these. And as you can see in my device manager, that's my device here. So let's try uploading, see what happens. Okay. I'm not sure what that's about. Let's restart it. Yes, my kitty cat. Alright. New window. Maple Mini, that's all set still. COM7, and now it's only showing one COM7, which is probably more correct. And pull up in the serial monitor, put that over to the other screen, and let's upload. See what happens. Upload successfully. Please test by uploading another sketch. Excellent. So let's pull open the device manager. I still have the serial device, so I'm going to power cycle this, just unplug it, plug it back in. And now you see in my device manager, I have Joey Joe Bags v1.0, which is exactly what we wanted. Now I don't have the driver installed for this. I did last time I was working on this video, but I've since installed a Windows update on my computer. We can kill this, we don't need it anymore. I need my, my Joey software over here. And this is also some stuff from HDR's repository. Instead of installing the driver BennVenn recommends, because I don't feel like rebooting and going into unsigned driver mode, I'm just going to install the driver that, well, shoot, I don't have it. I thought I did. Let's download that, yeah. We will make a new folder, signed driver. And now to install it, we just right click on this bat file, run as administrator, approve the prompt, you get a window that flashes up, does all this stuff, press any key to continue. And if we look in Device Manager, now we can see that I have a libUSB Win32 device, Joey Joe Bags v1.0. And we can power cycle it just for safe measure, but not quite necessary. Let's try the software now. I'm going to use HDR's software, so that tends to work better for me. And I got the pop-up Gen 3 is a work in progress, which means the software is recognizing it. To move it over though, because it's starting on the other screen. And there we go. It's already on the newest firmware, 3.36, and it shows my device ID. We can calculate the update key with some other software that I have, or we can just deal with it because it's not like we can update at this point anyway. So at this point, I think we are good to, or actually let me kill that. We'll open up the Qt port of the software. It's still a work in progress, but you can see it's recognizing the device ID, firmware ID, and it already just gives you the update key. I think this will read headers. It's not going to do anything because this isn't soldered onto that yet, but good for playing around with at least. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Let me stop the recording on my desktop because we're done with that. And we'll move back to my desk here. I'm going to unplug this. And what we need to do now is come back to our PCB here. I have the cart reader already attached to the PCB, but it's not actually soldered down. We need to solder the cart reader down first before we can attach the Maple Mini. And ooh, I need to double check. I don't remember if it goes this way or this way, but I'll check that in just a minute here. We will need these pin headers as well. But we'll start with this bad boy. All right, sorry about that. Just had to get some water. Let's get this soldered down. Now, flux does help quite significantly, but not strictly necessary. I just want to double check something. Oh, okay. This pin on the end here, I couldn't see the gold underneath the pad, so I thought there was solder mask. I didn't think it was going to let me solder that down, but we're good. I'm moving a little bit too fast. But that's okay, I can go over these joints again. You want to make sure that these joints are absolutely perfect, because once the Maple Mini is on, it's really difficult to get under it to retouch these joints. Okay. I think it's flux time. Alright, I think that's pretty good, but there's a big old glob of solder I need to deal with. Okay. And one more short. Nice. Alright, so there's that. Nice and soldered down. No shorts that I see. And you can glue or tape this down if you want, but I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. Now, let's go ahead and add these. And actually, before I even do that, I'm going to set the Arduino in here, make sure that they're straight. And I will be trimming these, but not yet. I'm just going to start with the four corners. Those last three joints were terrible. I don't know why you guys let me get away with that bullshit. All right. That's one side. Now we need to do the other side. I'm going to pause though and I'm 90% sure buttons go on top, but I'm just gonna double check. I'll be right back. And the problem is I can't really tell because the ground is the second pin on both sides there, so even if this is flipped around, the ground is still going to be connected and VCC and all that. So bear with me. Alright, so yeah, it is as I had suspected. Go ahead and solder this down. Again, I'm going to start with the four corners. And then we can just go nuts. What the fuck is going on here? Every now and then it feels like I hit a spot in my solder where there's no flux, or no rosin. Alright. Quick visual inspection. I see a couple pins I don't like. Well, 3 pins. But we're good now. Alright, let's try it again. Let me just start recording again. Alright. Plug this in. Showing up in my device manager, so let's try software. Still works. Move this over here. And let's try cart, I guess. Of course I don't have one handy. That would be convenient. Screw it, I think I have crystal clear on here, so we'll try this. Plug that in. Read cart header, PM crystal byte, that looks good. What am I doing? GBC generic dump ROM. While that's dumping, let me get here. And just bear with me a moment. And that's it. Let's try it out. So I just saved it to the same folder that the software is in, but I'm just going to click and drag it over to BGB. And look at that. Seems to work just fine. So I would call that a success. We're done. I mean, there are a few clean house operations that we can do. Let me pull that up here. Like, you probably want to trim off these ridiculously long pins. I'm going to do that, just not here. I'm going to do it hovering over my trash can so I have some place to put all these pins because I'm going to do both sides. But actually, yeah, I'll be right back. Right, definitely make sure you engage safety squints when doing that. But I just went ahead and trimmed both sides because, I don't know, I have flush cutters. I wanted to make it flush. Now I am going to go over this with my soldering iron one more time just to clean up any gross looking cuts, but this is not strictly necessary. This is just for appearance. Fix that one in just a second here. Okay. Now we're all done. That's it. You can leave these metal tabs in here if you want. It doesn't really do anything. You can cut them off, but they just pull out. It's the easiest thing to do. And like I said, you can glue that down or tape it down if you want, but it doesn't really make a difference. But now I'm going to go ahead and assemble a couple more, and I'm going to sit here with some calipers and make a 3D printable case. But otherwise, that's it. That's your own cheap cart reader that you can make with some off-the-shelf parts. I think I've already went over this, but the bill of materials is like less than 10 bucks, including the PCB. It's super cheap, but there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic night.